question. Would you rather have 3 great friends or 20 average friends?
I have both.
But which one's better?
I don't know.
I think okay, so this is something that I tell everybody about me. When it comes to people in my life, I am very much like it's deep or it's nothing kind of person. Like I have acquaintances or like people that I would consider my friends, and that's fine. But if I had to choose, I would 100% choose to have 3 really great friends that you can be honest with, you can talk to about everything. Because like with an average friend, if you're really going through it, sometimes it's hard to be able to talk to them about that. Like there are some people that you share everything with, and there's some people that you don't share things with. Like you just talk to them about the things that, hi, how are you? Good. How are you? How's your life? It's great. And
I think that's the biggest difference between men and women, because I just be not talking to nobody, period.
I know. It's really obnoxious. Yeah.
That's what my therapist was for back when I had him. Shout out to you.
Yeah.
You were dope. That was a good guy.
Yeah. Do you remember his name?
Yeah, but I'm not going to say it on the podcast.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering if you really actually knew that guy. Okay.
I didn't need to know that guy.
Here's the thing. He did know you.
That was the whole point. My point was not to know him.
He did know you. So I would truly rather, having 3 great friends that I could talk to about everything. Did
you talk to your therapist? I know I didn't pay for any therapy for you to be asking your therapist how their day was.
No.
Okay. I was about to say, you doing it wrong.
I mean, when you walk in, you say, hi, how are you? And that's it.
What?
Yeah, that's just what you do, Bedford, whenever you come in contact with another human being. You say, hi, how are you? And they say, good, how are you? And I say, well, I've been better. What?
They start billing right off the bat. I'm trying to get my money's worth. Help me fix these problems.
Yeah, I guess
telling
so.
Nobody else about.